All right, we're rolling. So, this is going to be a Q&A session off of my furry site. I know a bunch of you folks, I promised that I would be doing this at the shop whilst working on the Corvette, but it looks like I might not have a lot of help this weekend. So it'd be tough for me to do a video. Also be tough for me to get everything done that I wanted to get done. So I will be working on a Corvette, but it's going to be this one instead. The other reason I wanted to get this done was I got a lot of really good questions from people, and I wanted to get to them to kind of say thank you for, again, coming up with some really good stuff. I just got back from the gym, so we're a little bit parched here, but in any event, I'm going to get right to the questions, and for those of you that are tuning in for more car stuff or Corvette stuff, fear not, because I'm going to skip the non-car questions. This is just going to be car Q&A with me, your host, Tiptoetherat, and I skim-read a couple of them, but a lot of these are going to be straight off the cuff, so if it's a little bit clunky or whatever, please don't judge too harshly. So here we go. Let's just scroll on down here. Meanbeard asks, will I ever drive in a race in my new car wearing my rat outfit? And the answer is no. For starters, that's not fireproof, it's firepoof. So a couple of times I've jumped into other people's cars and my car's wearing my outfit just as a joke, but I haven't actually driven in them. I suppose, I know there's a convention where they let you run around in go-karts wearing your costume if you want, but no, I don't really think so. That doesn't really, I mean, it might look cool, but it doesn't sound like that much fun to me, so I'm going to go and say no over that. Let's see here. Let's see, still scrolling, find another car question. I know they're out there. First, let's see here. It's XZTS, or is that just... I don't even know how to... I'm not going to try to pronounce that. I have a hard enough time with regular English words. But anyways, XZTS asks, first car. My first car ever was a Ford LTD 1979. The forerunner of the Crown Victoria. And it was actually also my first race car. I started to race ice racing before I actually had a driver's license, before I was old enough, before I was legal to drive. I just managed to convince all the people at the track, because I'd been going to the track, I'd been going to the track multiple years with my family, and I guess they just assumed that I was old enough. They just got used to seeing me and knew that I didn't cause problems, and I was one of those guys, and I mean, no one ever checked me. I raced for years. Actually, it was only 1 year now that I think about it. I raced for an entire year, before it was legal for me to even drive on the road in that Ford. So that was my first ever race car, was an LTD. It was a police car package, but it was actually a fire chief's car originally. So basically, it was a red cop car, but it had all the good cop car goodies in it. It had the 400, the 9-inch in the back, all the stuff that was good to have on a car back then. So, first car, Ford LTD, and I, she was ugly, but I loved her, so I still have a soft spot for them. So, let's see here, and the same person, most expensive automotive part you've had to replace so far. I would also ask what's the cheapest part, but that's just pointless. Well, the cheapest would be... see, he says has to replace. Now, I'm wondering if he's talking about on my car, for a customer's car, or on someone else's car. And I wonder what you call a part, per se. Don't want to spend all night on this one, because I probably could, so I'll just cut to the chase. The most expensive I've replaced has been the engine for my Camaro. I did that all by I bought a block and heads off of Craigslist, 350 with Vortec heads. And then I had a machine shop do all the machine work, and then I actually built it, put it all together. After NVR took care of me, great guys, thanks again. So I'm not sure if you're going to call that one part, because it's not, it's not just the cylinder head, it's the head, the valves, the pistons, and all that. But yeah, that was a couple grand when it was all said and done. I don't remember exact amounts, because you don't keep track of like the little gaskets and things like that. But that was probably the most expensive part I've had to replace or replaced. The cheapest part I've ever had to replace. Again, I don't know what you call a part or replace, but I mean, fuses and things like that, air filters. Just little things like that. And, because I've had sponsors in the past, I've gotten things for free as well. So I don't know if you count that as, $0 or whatever. Yuri, of course, always keeping it classy. If you could fuck in costume in any vehicle, what would the costume be and what would be the car? And I answered this in text, but I'll read it for those of you that aren't following this page. I honestly really would not want to have a costume on because, I'd want to be able to feel the person and enjoy it. And so, I mean, I don't know. If I have to be a costume, I guess I'd do a cowboy stripper thing, Cowboy hat, boots, chaps, done. As far as what car would it be, if I have any choice of any car on the entire world, I would choose about a late 60s, early 70s Oldsmobile Vista Cruiser. Stylish and functional for that sort of thing. My favorite cartoon car, this is Indigier, has asked me that one. Just my favorite, maybe not the best or whatever, but the one that I always thought was pretty cool was the Thunderhawk from the 80s cartoon action series Mask. And I'll post a link to the intro video and you'll kind of get it. But basically Mask was this... Sorry, I'm really, like I said, just got back from the gym, so really, really dry. Mask was this television series that had these guys that fought evil in cars that had James Bond style gadgets. And what was really cool about it was the cars themselves were modeled after real cars. So you could totally tell that's a Datsun, that's a Chevy pickup truck. The Thunderhawk was the main character's car. It was modeled after an IROC Camaro. And among other things, it could fly. So it would sprout wings and jets and take off. And it was cool. I mean, it was super 80s, over the top, and I thought it was cool, and I'll never forget that show. Still one of my favorites to this day. Let's see here. Leo Lion. Did you ever like Speed Racer or Wacky Races as a kid? I did watch both. I was kind of getting towards the end of my cartoon watching days when they came out. But, I liked Speed Racer quite a bit, mostly because I found out later on that Speed Racer's the Mach 5 was based loosely off of a Chaparral, so that was extra cool points in my book. See here. Got to get this person's name when I give shout outs to everyone who... Method Behind Madness asks, this is probably an age-old classic question, but why cars? Why racing? Why model cars? What puts you under their collective oily spell? It's not just oil, it's also glue, paint, and, asbestos, all the things that I love in life. I'm not 100% sure. It just was something I always liked. I always got into cars. I thought cars were cool. And... ever since I was a little kid, I'm cars were it. And I mean, it was downright to the point of my parents' chagrin. They're like, there's other things in life. And I'm like, well, not to me, there isn't, at least not now. And the model car thing that I'm kind of futzing with here, that was just kind of an extension of that. And it's one of the only relaxing type hobbies I ever do with myself. So that's why I haven't put down model cars yet. And the racing, I've always wanted to race. I got into it, and I know people that wanted to race. They got into racing and went, no, this isn't as good. I got into it and said, I want more. I always want more. I want more, and it hasn't that hasn't waned as I've gotten older. It's gotten worse. So I'm definitely one of those people that's addicted. Let's see here, Kahuna Katakuna Cat. There we go. There's K's and C's in there, whatever. What's my favorite Chevy? That's going to be a tough one because I like a lot of Chevrolets. If we're going to be general, it's probably going to be a Camaro of some sort. I love Camaros. I love the second and third generations Camaro. I just think they look cool. All of them are really good platforms to make something fun out of, whether it's a dragster, a road race car, or even a circle track car in a lot of cases. I've always liked Corvettes, some better than others, just like everyone else in the world. And then there's other little odd Chevrolets that I like. I like Corvairs quite a bit, actually. I thought that was kind of a weird thing for a American company to do a rear-engine air-cooled car like that. And I've seen some racers do some really cool stuff with Corvairs, so I give them a lot of credit. And I like Chevy 2s and Chevy Novas, just the the featherweight, drop a V8 in one of those and go drag racing and just, it's fantastic. And I think they look good. I think especially the early Chevy 2s, I think they're handsome looking cars. So let's see here. Moving on here. Against Sadness, were Frankie colors inspired in Halloween? Nope. My favorite color is orange. There's a couple other colors that make appearances up there, black and pink, but typically orange rises to the top. It's just a matter of time. Like, you might ask me today and I'll say pink, but tomorrow I'll say it's orange. Day after it's black. And then it goes back to orange. So pretty much orange has been my favorite color on and on again throughout the course of my life. So I run with that. Let's see here. Dark Star Werewolf. How many cars have you owned? Oh boy. I totaled this up at one time. I want to, including race cars and cars that just went right into the right to parts, was like 13, 14. Not that many for a car guy, but the ones that I've owned, I liked, I stuck with, and I ended up going quite a ways with. So maybe that's why. Which one was my favorite to race with? Of all the cars I've raced, my Camaro that was dearly, recently departed, that was my favorite. It was the one I raced the longest, just by happenstance. I did the 24 hours at Nelson Ledges race with that car, and we finished, which was just amazing. That was one of the first cars where it wasn't just me and my family that built it. Like, a bunch of my friends came together and built it, and it was just watching it take shape, get all these people involved. That was amazing. And when word got around that the car had been destroyed, even people that had left the team, were sending me, I'm sorry, dude, because they remember it. It is just a car. I'm not that one of those people, but it touched a lot of lives and brought a lot of people together, and it's cool. Let's see here. Let's see here. Cryptorat asks, cost-wise, is it better to keep an old car and continuously repair it when things break, or to buy a used car to replace it and gamble that it'll break less? Let's see here. It kind of depends on what the car is. I mean, there's definitely in my opinion, there's definitely a tipping point or a bell curve where, if you get a car that's got umpteen 100,000 miles on it, it's going to sit there and little things are going to keep breaking and things are going to keep going bad. And that being said, we do know of a lot of cars, Honda Civics and so forth, that will go 200, 300,000 miles, where to get that kind of mileage out of an early Kia is like unheard of because they're just not built anywhere near as well. Other cars that I would say if you take care of them, they could go a long ways. I've seen a lot of Suburbans and Tahoes that'll do 200, even 300,000 miles on the original engine as long as it's taken care of. Engine, trans, diff, it'll all be the same stuff as long as you stay on top of it. It'll work. So big fan of those as well in terms of going long. And again, it also depends on what kind of car it is, because the cost to do major repairs on something that's European, for example, can be really, really expensive. Whereas to repair a car that's Japanese or American, not that as expensive. So that scale starts to tip a little bit sooner if you can't do the work yourself, and if it's a depending on if it's this make or that make or whatever. And I'm not ripping on people who like European cars. I like them myself, honestly. I've raced a couple of European cars, BMWs and stuff, and enjoyed it. So, but that you do have to make a peace with the fact that there are certain things you have to do. The same way as if, like, my friends, I've got a couple friends that are into British cars, and they don't deny the whole Lucas electronics and oil leaks thing. The same way I don't deny that Chevys leak oil, even though I'm a Chevy guy. Let's see here. Another car question. How important is washing a car, especially around here in the Rust Belt and the Salt Belt states? Very important. Got to keep the road grime and salt off of it to keep it clean. If you're living in one of the sunshine states, I would say washing it and waxing it's a great idea. Try to keep that paint in good shape because it's going to make the bodywork, last. If it's a little dirty, it's not that big a deal. The people that are like, obsessive compulsive about keeping their cars clean. I mean, I understand it if you have pride in ownership, but it's not that important. Let's see here. Moving on. Nod Mouse. Who would win a race between Kit from Knight Rider and Lightning McQueen from Cars? I would say Kit, because he's not an idiot, and Lightning McQueen often is. Kit's more calculated, and I'm also going to go with Kit because Kit's a futuristic, hydrogen powered. On the show he's done over 200 miles an hour, even over 300 in some cases in super pursuit mode. Where Lightning, he's sentient, but he is just a NASCAR. Not to say that NASCARs are slow, but Kit's got a much higher top speed, so I'm guessing, handling and all that. So I got to go with Kit on that one. Let's see here. Keanu, we hear about your U.S. car likes, but if you could have one European model and one Asia Pacific model, no cost involved, what would you choose? It's funny because I actually do like British cars quite a bit. I like the old stuff, MGs, Minis, Aston Martins, newer stuff, the new Jags, the XK series, XK8, XKR, really cool cars, XKRS. Just they look great, they sound great. I dig them. And like I said earlier, I've raced BMWs and I've raced against Beamers and that type of thing for quite a while, and really good cars. So, but let's get to no cost involved. If I could have one European model, it would be a classic Mini Cooper, and it would be a 1275S in the orange color that I like them in. It's called Volcano, and it would have to be a Cooper S. And I mean, it is European. If you're talking like something more modern, I would get like a GT. Oh boy, I'd get like one of the Rocket Sports Jaguars, I guess. But that's kind of cheating. Anyone who knows what those are. And now I've got to pick an Asian model car that I would get. I'm tempted to go classic with this and go with an old school Toyota 86. For all you Initial D fanboys there, I thought those were cool before Initial D made them cool. So yeah, I'll say that tentatively, but other cars that come immediately to mind, I think a Toyota MR2 is really cool. I'd love to take one of those and just strip it to the bone and see what kind of racer I could come up with. Big fan of the first generation Acura NSX. I mean, good handling and, reliability and Honda quality. I mean, sign me up if I'm going to do a supercar. That's in the running in a couple different levels that way. So, but trying to think if there's any other Asian cars that I would really get. I had, once upon a time, I had a Civic. I had an EP3 Civic and loved the hell out of it. Obviously, we got the watered down version over here in the States, so maybe try the European Type R version. I think that would be great. Let's see here. And yeah, nope, that's all the car guy questions that we have. And just like my model here, because I kind of zoned out on it, I didn't get very far. But in any event, we'll see about shooting you guys a video on the Corvette coming up this weekend when I get down there. I'm going to be stripping the diff out of it. And, I mean, we're not like, I'm going to do some major services. And I basically want to get the car apart to see how did this survive and how does that look? Because, it's got a hell of a life ahead of it. So, that being said, I think that's enough of me talking, and hopefully this holds you guys over until you can get a proper video from us again. So, see you out there. Oh, almost forgot. I know a bunch of you guys are watching. I'll see a couple of you at the AMG meeting on Friday, and MFF coming up here as well. Bye.